All right. Hi, John. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for giving us this opportunity to ask you questions. You have a huge fan base in Iran. A lot of people know you here. Your book, The Lies We Tell Ourselves, has sold 33,000 of copies. Congratulations. And as you know, I have a page on Instagram where I share Farsi translations of our dialogues and some of your Facebook posts, and many Iranians, including therapists, has followed this page. And there's one feature in your answers that is interesting to me. I'm always fascinated by your way of answering questions. Your answers are relatively short, but dense in meaning, with a few words with which you describe what is sometimes unspeakable. And this is a method which many Iranian poets use to describe their thoughts and feelings, like Hafiz, Saadi, Omar Khayyam, and of course Rumi. And I know that you admire Rumi. Sometimes you answer to my questions by noting to Rumi's ideas. What is in Rumi's ideas and poems that makes him so special to you?
Well, I think the whole Sufi tradition, even though understood as a mystical tradition within religion, is also a very deep psychology,
Yeah.
and perhaps the deepest psychology. You may have known Reza Arastey. He wrote a very beautiful book on Rumi, and particularly the psychology that Rumi proposed. And you may know Eric Fromm.
Yeah.
Eric Fromm referred to Rumi and also referred to Aristey's work. That in a way, mystics, I think, are almost always very deep psychologists, so that any therapist, I think, would do well to read mystics of various traditions, because they are also dealing with deep psychological questions in a very profound way.
Yeah, exactly. In one piece, Rumi says, all day I think about it, then at night I say it. Why am I unaware of my soul? Where did I come from? Why am I in this world? And what am I supposed to be doing? I have no idea. My soul is from elsewhere, I'm sure of that. And I intend to end up there. Do you think these questions are answerable? What are your answers?
Well, I think these are universal questions.
Yeah.
Everybody wonders, why am I here? These are universal human questions. And if you notice, Rumi never directly answers those questions,
Yeah.
because he's always pointing out that our so-called answers are the prisons we put ourselves in. You remember he has many stories that involve a bird that's in a cage.
Yeah.
You are the bird.
Oh, yeah.
You are the bird. And so he's curious, can I help my students? Can I help others see the cages they live in?
Mm.
Because if you can see the cage, you can fly out of the cage. So, for example, I think one of the questions is, who am I? Right? So I'll ask you some questions,
Yeah.
just so you can understand, I think, his intent. For instance, are you a thought?
No, I'm not.
Are you a concept?
No, I'm not.
Are you a sentence?
No, I'm not.
And yet we both know you are.
Yeah.
You exist, right?
Yeah.
Now, what you are, we just learned, cannot be said.
Yeah.
You are not a concept.
That's a deep
So when
understanding.
so if someone says, "Oh, I know who Reza is this idea, this concept." Actually, that person doesn't know Reza.
Yeah.
They try to put Reza into a concept, into an idea, into a sentence. But you are everything that doesn't fit into that sentence.
Yeah, and I think this is an idea about a human mind, and some philosophers point to this idea.
That's right. You know, that we know that epistemology is nested in ontology, being, right? How we know is nested in the being we try to know.
Hmm.
But insofar as you are being, any concept may point to you, but, but you as being are always unsayable.
Yeah, that's right.
So people like Rumi um, are often asking questions, or they're telling stories that are pointing to that which cannot be put into words, that which cannot be said.
Yeah,
So it's a very skillful use of language to point beyond language, beyond what can be said. And oftentimes his stories are designed to help us see the cage we're in.
hmm.
Because somebody can tell you something and won't have an impact, but maybe they tell you a Mullah Nasruddin story and you see yourself.
Yeah,
You see that cage you were in. And where do you look? Right? You remember the Mullah Nasruddin story. A man is discovered outside a house under a traffic lamp. There's a light outside, and he's crawling around the ground looking for his key. And so a person helps him look for the key, and then they happen to ask, "By the way, where did you last have the key?" And he says, "Well, it was in the house." "Well, why don't you look in the house?" "Oh, because the light is better here." So now we find that to be a hilarious story,
yeah,
and the story exists and continues because it's funny.
yeah.
And it might just seem like a funny story, but in a way, the Sufis especially the Naqshbandi, the reason they tell that story is they're trying to remind you on an analogical or metaphorical level. If you look outside your inner home, you won't find the truth there. And when we look outside ourselves in other people, we're great at looking at the truth in other people. The light is really great there.
Yeah, exactly.
We have such great insights into other people.
Yeah,
But we need to look here because this is where the key is. And so that's where we have to look. But then in looking inside, we begin to realize, no, I'm not a concept. I'm not an idea. And then the investigation becomes very important because remember when Rumi says, "My home is not here."
mm,
You can interpret that in different ways, but one thing is clear: his home is not in all these concepts. It's not in self-images. It's not in beliefs. It's not in concepts, right? It's not in this artificial world, this cage of concepts and beliefs. The home is elsewhere.
it is really moving how you put ideas into words, John. It is
Mm.
much like when I read your books, it talks to our hearts.
Hmm. Well, and that's what it is, right? That therapy is not a head-to-head relationship; it's heart to heart. And how do we use words to speak to that which can't be said in the heart? But the heart has its own way of knowing. There is a kind of a knowing, right? But it's not philosophers would say there's this conceptual knowing, and we won't find Reza there. but there's a kind of non-conceptual knowing.
Yeah, that's right.